Awesome. Good morning, everybody. Thank you for coming out to 1 Million Cups. If this is your first time here, thanks for coming. Feel free to get up and grab coffee at any time during the presentation. We're a pretty laid-back bunch here. And just to give you an idea of how the format will go, we'll go around the room and do introductions so we can understand who's in the room. So you can say your name and who you're with and what you do. And then we'll turn things over to our presenter, who will speak for maybe 10 to 15 minutes about his company, and then we'll open it up to the audience for Q&A. So start thinking about questions that you might want to ask. And then we'll have about 10 minutes after the presentation where you can meet with Nick individually and ask any additional questions you might have. And today we are really thankful for our sponsors that make 1 Million Cups possible. So we've got the library here that gives us this beautiful space. We have Catherine in the back there, who has been with us for 2 years now, providing a live stream and a video recording. So if you go to our website or our YouTube channel, you can always see our presenters. And if you ever can't physically make it to 1 Million Cups, you can check out the live link that's in our newsletter and on our website, and you can tune in. And then we have our coffee from Crescendo, located on Monroe Street. It's delicious, and that's provided by Old National Bank. So we're thankful to have a new 6-month sponsor for 1 Million Cups. And then 100 State will be picking it back up in 2017. So on that note, I'm Rachel Neal. I am one of the founders of 1 Million Cups.
I'm Drew Corson. I'm an attorney with Snyder & Boucher. I'm also an organizer at 1 Million Cups. And this is not an announcement, but I want to say that Rachel and I team taught a UW undergrad class yesterday, and they were super hard to engage, so no pressure, but I assume you're all going to be like super interactive and it's going to be great, but
you kind of killed it yesterday.
Oh man. If not, we're just going to talk at you for 25 minutes, so you don't want that.
I'm David Warsaw, and I'm with Polco. Kurt Peterson, co-founder of 32 Auctions.
Steve Clark, co-founder of 32 Auctions, which is a platform for hosting and managing silent auction fundraisers.
I'm Mitch DeWitt with Merrill Lynch, so I help people, families, small business owners create a financial strategy.
I'm Teresa Luth. I'm a lobbyist with Humana.
Danielle Williams. I work in the state senate, and I'm also Dane County supervisor.
Hi, I'm Susie Uncle. I'm program director of Merlin Mentors.
Hi, I'm Laura Murray. I'm a financial advisor with Robert W. Baird.
Jeremy Udovich with Polco Solutions. We're an offshore software development firm with a few hundred engineers in Eastern Europe.
Hey, Sheldon with HealthX Ventures and an organizer here, and always late.
Hi, Michael Lurton, I run Bunker Labs at Research Park.
Nick Mastronardi with Polco.
I'm Catherine Garcia with Field 59.
My name is Zach Weaver, and it's my first time. I'm from Quincy, Illinois, about 6 hours away, just visiting, just checking out the area. We do websites and e-marketing and mobile apps.
Welcome.
I'm Devin Renner. I'm with True Coffee Roasters.
Paul Hansen. I run a startup called Remugio. It's a video survey platform.
I'm Andy Quant, the founder of the Bike Mobile, and now working on starting up a nonprofit in town called Free Bikes for Kids, where we're going to collect a bunch of bikes, fix them up, and give them to kids in the community.
I'm Chloe Mayer. I just recently moved to the area, but I'm a tax accountant.
I'm Alex Ryan with Prairie Light Solar, solar energy consulting firm.
Hi, I'm Varun with Retail X.
I'm Donna Beastman, Career Success Strategies. I'm an executive career strategist.
Pat Williams, I'm the Director of Operations and Finance for the 247 Network, which is a small nonprofit support organization.
I'm Amy Gannon. I'm a co-founder of the Doyen Group, which supports women entrepreneurs, and assistant professor at Edgewood College School of Business.
Melanie Conklin. I work for Congressman Mark Polkamp.
Well, thank you everybody for the introductions, and we're going to turn things over to you, Nick.
Yeah. First, thank you guys so much for coming out, and thanks so much to Alpha and Denton Foundation and 1 Million Cups for having us. And community is so important for starting a company, and we're really excited. We started the company down in Texas and relocated up here at the start of the summer, and we think this Madison area and the community here is perfect for us because of civic engagement and politics. Everybody's not afraid to get involved, and we get diversity of opinion, but people are still willing to engage in conversation. So it's just a perfect place for civic engagement. And it's also a perfect place for entrepreneurship. It's like the scene's not too huge, but it's got all the right players and everybody's friendly and reputation still matters. So we love being here, and the community's been really open to us, and we want to give back, and happy to share what we're up to, share our lessons learned, and also hear from you guys. So so in a nutshell, what Polco, I'm Nick, this is Polco, and we improve how cities and citizens connect on policy issues. And I've been, well, I'll just show you right where we are. This has been an investor presentation, been on the road, kind of, raising funds. So this is to help them. Where we are is we're working with 7 cities and counties and being added to the budget for several more, and had some exciting growth and some early stage revenue. But the premise, the problem that Polco hopes and aims to solve is, welcome to City Council, welcome to Town Hall. This is how cities, counties, and school districts across the United States currently gather citizen input to help them decide their large $10, $20, $30 million operating budgets, even for small towns. The public sector is a huge part of our economy, and unfortunately there's a lot of civic ignorance as to what's going on, and it's just a complicated process for people to know what's happening. And so what happens is the people who show up have disproportionate influence. Squeaky wheels get the way, and that's why citizens want an easier way to get involved, and elected officials as well want to be able to cite data from a broader majority to balance the input of these squeaky wheels. So this is the kind of the problem that's going on, and the problem that we hope to solve, and we aim to solve this in 3 steps. And I'll get those in a second. But the way cities are currently trying to solve that problem of the disproportionate influence is they're spending lots of money on antiquated, outdated, fractured communication. So that's landline phone poles, postcard mailers, one-on-one meetings, city staff time monitoring, email, and social media, and compiling all that into some sort of report to give to the elected officials. And it doesn't work great. The citizens kind of get confused and don't participate. Participation rates at local government are low. That doesn't give the data to the elected officials that they need to stand up to the squeaky wheels, and squeaky wheels get their way. So here's the 3 steps that we do to get better civic engagement, to help the citizens have a voice, and the other problem is to give the data to the elected officials. So the first step in our solution is, one, we make it really easy for city, county staff to enter a few fields, which automatically generates a policy poll. We call an e-ballot. So you enter a few fields, and you could ask this question, and each of these policy polls can be found on Polco. So a citizen that would they go to polco.us, enter their name, enter their zip code, and they would be served each of the policy polls from their local government that are relevant to them. So you can come to Polco, find these policy polls, but we want to get as much participation as possible. So we want to meet people where they are. So the second thing that we do is, you don't have to just go to Polco. Each of these policy polls, we work to make embeddable on third-party sites. It could be on the city or the county website, or a local news organization is writing an article on an issue, and embed that policy poll right in the article, so you don't have to leave the content and could vote from there. And we're working on some email technology, so people, once their account has been verified, could vote directly from email. So even though these policy polls may exist in multiple locations, we still want to ensure that people aren't voting more than once, and we can filter the results just to input by people in Madison or Dane County or a particular city. So the way that we do that is, regardless of where you find it or people vote, all the data comes into Polco's database, where we do cross-reference against a voter file. So we can ensure that it's people in the city and that people aren't voting more than once. And what that helps us do is to provide really cool analytics that were never really available at the local level before. So these are notional things from the voter file that we anticipate delivering, but right now what we can do is make sure this is a city citizen, and we can do breakdowns by district. If somebody logs in with social media, then we can do also for those people gender, age, time trend, all kinds of cool analytics that were never really available, unless you did expensive other options, which I'll talk about in a second. So we call this sexy civic analytics. We come back from backgrounds of big data, and we're really excited about doing big data for local governments, but we're focused on step 1 right now, which is building the platform, getting people involved, and collecting the data. And with that data in, there's lots of really cool things to do. So there are a couple other people playing in this space, but we think of Speak Up and Peak Democracy as like the Friendster and MySpace of civic engagement. These are roughly 10-year-old tools, and they have less features. So the city of Austin actually helped design and build Speak Up, and that was about 10 years ago. And since then, it hasn't kind of innovated and kept up to date, and Austin is looking for a new solution. And we're proud to say we're on an internal pilot with them to be their replacement solution. What ends up happening for a lot of cities is they go to SurveyMonkey, which is really easy for them, but at the end of the day, they have no idea if it's the same person 10 times, and that person might be in Kansas or something. And so it's easy, but it's not verified, it's not analyzed, and not as useful. Only the biggest cities can afford to do a Gallup poll, 1 to 2 Gallup polls a year. And those are analog, expensive, slow, and it ends up costing, this was a quote from the former mayor of San Jose, about $50 a vote. So what we hope Polco, aim for Polco to be able to do is combine the best of both of these worlds. The ease of an online poll like a SurveyMonkey with the verification and analytics and rigor of a Gallup poll. So how do we make money? What's the business model? Is to license this platform to local governments at $500 a month. It should come in at $6K a year, which is under most of their bid threshold, so we should be able to contract pretty quickly with them. And the other nice thing too is not just contracting quickly, but partnering with the cities and counties is amazing co-marketing partner opportunity for us for user acquisition, because they have great email distros, they have great social media profiles and organic connections with the press, so it helps us really kind of grow the user base. Then if we want to do custom analytics for them, hey, show us the participation by young females in District 2, or we feel we're underrepresented by middle-aged males, we can help run those additional campaigns as an add-on business component. And finally, this platform was built to be general, so it could for cities, counties, school districts, but also if you're a 501c4, if you're an issue-based advocacy and you want to kind of, right now you're just emailing your members to email their council members or alder members, there's a better way to do that. Just direct them to Polco and you can have organize your input that way. Campaigning candidates could use it for polling. State legislators, different departments and committees onward. So here's where we are. We're happy to be working with Dane County was one of our first 3 and a couple of cities and towns down in Texas. And now our focus is to deliver a great experience here at our home in Madison. And with a great showcase, this is an old industry, largely unchanged in hundreds of years, really well networked, and with a great showcase example in our hometown. This is something that we think a lot of innovative cities, Kansas City or wherever, could pick up and then radiate from their independent beachheads. So it was said, a great rollout in Austin. There's 15 cities on the periphery of Austin who will immediately replicate what Austin does. So we're excited. I think the S-curve is steep and tall, but we want to focus on our home first. And here's where we are financially. And so our team, we love public policy, we love public service, we also love technology. I was Air Force officer, active duty for 11 years, still in the reserves. One of my assignments was teaching at the Air Force Academy, where I met my co-founder, Alex. He was a political science instructor. After active duty, I went to Amazon and led some big data. I was a senior economist for the East Coast. He went to Google, and after a year, we thought it was cool, technology's fun, but what we really wanted to do was combine our loves for technology and public policy, and Polco was the opportunity for us to really work at that intersection. Dylan, our data engineer and product manager, is an Army background, and then David, who's here today too, is former elected official and White House policy analyst, investor turned. He's like, I love what you guys are doing. Can I come check it out? Brought his coffee maker with us, and has been jamming with us now for over 2 months. So we love what we get to do every day. We're passionate about this space and excited about the progress that we're making. This is for the investors, but we're raising our seed round. The whole idea for our seed round right now, we know what we need to do is experiment with our most efficient go-to-market strategies, what messaging, what channels, and that's what we're trying to execute on right now. And as soon as we kind of see the combinations or the recipe that really works, hope to run a Series A in the next 12, 15 months or so, and really kind of light it on fire. But right now, we want to make sure we're making our customers, users happy and getting that marketing messaging nailed down. And we've had some, for us, for doing this, I have to give a shout out to the community. We're military guys who've been on the move for over a decade. So we really didn't have roots or a network or community behind us. So Michael in the back, who runs Bunker Labs, it's a military veteran accelerator, incubator, what was the right word?
Professional networking.
Professional networking, but we moved to town. We moved to Madison this summer, in May, and Michael's been very helpful in connections and integrating us. So that's been great. A shout out to MadWorks. They have their accelerator was really focused on getting our legal stuff and financial squared away, and that helped us too. And then now we're working with G Beta program, and so on the investor side, everybody's been really helping us integrate into the community. So we're really appreciative for that. And one other shout out too is the City of Whitewater, their Community Development Authority said, hey, we're all about good government down here in Whitewater. We want to use the platform, but we also want to help you grow. And their CDA gave us a great public loan that helped us really get our feet underneath us. So my wife's from Wisconsin. We're glad to be here, not just for that, but the community's been really supportive of entrepreneurs. I hate to hear that the ranking, but I think everybody recognizes the metrics on that are kind of off. Anecdotal example from our perspective, it's been great for us, and especially in an industry, a lot of investors. I've spent time in Austin, New York with Amazon, and Silicon Valley, but I think the community here has been great, and even in those places, a lot of people go, hey, tech startup, big ceiling, but it's government, we don't want to touch it. Local angels here are kind of, really helpful and get involved. So we need tons. I'm not saying we don't need any more help, but we needed help, and the community's come through for us. So at the end of the day, I think from the last election, we learned a couple things. There's a lot of frustrated citizens out there who feel like they weren't having a voice. Polco, we aim to empower them to help people represent themselves and what's going on at local, state levels. So we helped to solve that. But also, we learned that polling was way off. There's a lot of room for improvement in polling. The only polls that kind of were somewhat accurate were these like Twitter online flash polls, but those aren't really reliable. And so what we hope to deliver is the ease of an online poll so governments can get useful, verified, analyzed polling. So civic tech, gov tech combined in one simple, easy to use platform is what we're pushing on every day. So that's Polco, and that's what we do. And if there's an ask to me, to the community, if there's ever anything I can do, don't hesitate. We're here in Madison and happy to help and give back. And then my ask to you is if you encounter a Polco e-ballot somewhere, vote. Go on to polco.us and tell your friends and tell your alders and that you want to have a voice. And it's just kind of, we want to be grassroots innovation improvement in local government. And if you have friends who are investors and they want to jump in our seed round, that'd be great too. But with that, that was my message for Polco this morning. Thanks so much.
So as a citizen, how does this work out? I mean, do people just get emailed and sent to a survey? I mean, how has it been getting implemented so far?
Yeah, so it's great if you go to polco.us and then you can see everything that's been kind of served up. We haven't done like our full up launch with Dane County right now. So David is former elected Dane County treasurer and has been really helpful with the county. But the idea is we put up a couple issues as kind of like soft launch tests. One of them this summer about the Homeless Day Resource Center. We had 180 votes in a matter of days, which was a great turnout for a soft launch. But what we want to do is there's a press person at the county. As they load up the questions, then we distribute it out through the county email distro, through the county social media profiles, through the press. And then you can vote, comment, and then reshare with your friends and family. We have some email notifications, so anytime a new policy poll is posted, you can be notified once a week of each of that week's policy polls. So, or you could hopefully find it as we start to work with the local newspapers embedded in the articles that you're reading. So any and all of the above is our goal, but feel free to come to it early and often. Something we'd love to do is corporate social responsibility. You know, if companies want to give their employees once a week on a Tuesday, take 20 minutes and, you know, do your civic duty. You know, we'd love to, we just want to promote it from every angle. We feel civic engagement should be a part of everybody's, you know, lifestyle. So we want to find them different methods. Yeah?
I have so many questions, and I promise I will not monopolize this to hear from government, but how do you get, one of the things we're always dealing with is there are people, you know, call, working for a congressman who call our office every time. We're getting calls every time Trump makes a new appointment, 10,000 calls into our office, but they're always the same people.
Yeah.
And, you know, like you said, it's the people who show up, it's the people who
Yeah.
call. Just a comment right now is probably one of the best moments, because everywhere I go, people are like, so how do I get involved, how do I do stuff? So this is a really good moment. How do you make sure that we hear from people who are usually voiceless?
Yeah.
You know, you talked about like the Day Resource Center. How do you hear from the actual, you know, homeless people who might be interested in that, or any issue, you know, a street,
Yeah.
sidewalk resurfacing, how do you hear from the neighborhood, or especially the less connected?
Yeah, I think the first step is how do you know who you're missing off the bat, right? Like right now, we know it's, but we don't know exactly who it is. So the first goal is we can check to see, you know, for a city, which part of the city are people coming in from. And then as you start to watch, hey, we're being underrepresented in District 2, then you can start to focus and run more efficient campaigns that way. Like our goal is, I mean, I think the status is disproportionate, the status quo is disproportionately represented. We want to lower the barrier so we can get more people in. And so if it's through email or just online, you know, it's not going to be perfect out of the gates, but at least we can start to measure where we're underrepresented and then help you target that campaign to get more people in. So that's our goal.
Higher participation than you get at a city council. Maybe.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, you hear a lot of those, the same people. What about media? How do you, again, my past, so I'll make this my last question, but how do you get a newspaper or a TV station or the traditional media? Have you had any response from any of them? Because they're always wanting new tools to get information.
So Kathleen Gallagher at the Milwaukee Journal
Yeah.
Sentinel has been supportive and helped introduce us to the people there. And so they like it from their perspective. They're writing an article, you're compelling readers and saying, hey, this is important. Now what do I do about it? Right? So now they can do something, they can take action on an article that they read without having to leave the actual article. And so it enhances their content. And the other thing that's cool is we keep track of the results, where they come in from, so we can say, hey, your readership is coming, you know, could be coming from this part of the city, or is this age or gender demographic. So it provides cool analytics back to them. But one thing I will say is to foster participation, we take our privacy policy extremely seriously. We never sell or share individual level data, not even to the government. So, and they don't want to know because that opens up liability and responsibility to them. So our goal is to do verification and provide the analytics back, whether it be to a paper about their readership or to a representative about their constituency, but never at the individual level. Because we don't want people to say, am I going to be targeted about this? I don't want it to be, you know, shared. We want to keep that verified, but just aggregated. So that's starting in Texas. Like we could never have got started in Texas. People are really privacy concerned down there. It's something that that's important to us. Yeah. Yeah.
So given that you're targeting local government, that's a lot of potential customers with a lot of, you mentioned your S-curve is pretty steep with customer acquisition, but is there a white whale out there that, you know, would help you go to a next level? I mean, a lot of local governments is great, but.
I think Dane County and Madison really are. Madison is it the Mayor's Innovation Project? Like this and National League of Cities University was just hosted like best practices in technology for local governments, was here in Madison in October. And I guess Kansas City is recognized as a local government innovation leader, but also Austin. And so that's why we're really excited about this pilot that we're doing with the city of Austin right now. Those are, you know, in my mind, you know, the white whales. We're really excited to have, you know, a couple of them that we're working with right now. Yeah.
Nick, you said when, like, if we're reading the Journal Sentinel, would that have to be online to be able to react to an embedded?
Right now, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, in theory, with fundraising coming in, you could put a QR code in a print media, and then, that would connect you to the policy poll or, but yeah, for right now. Yeah. Yeah.
So with your advanced analytics, is that manual on your staff to put together these, whatever the analytic is,
It's, so to build custom new ones, like a combination of like female by District 2, well, yeah, that's a new query that we run. But once we've built it once, then, for anybody to do that again would be simple. We've done a few of them already.
Okay.
I would just say, on the advanced analytics, people aren't gonna put that in, and so if you're a potential government contractor in here, you're not gonna get that for a while, because it's confusing, because you'll have 200 people vote on an issue, but only 30 or 40 will we have demographic data on. So all of a sudden, you're gonna get a chart that says 200 people opines, but the demographic data is only 30 people. We have to get better at that. We have to get a higher percentage of people participating and willing to provide that information. Until then, these guys are big data guys. They want to do that, and we will be able to do it someday, but it's not there yet.
Sure.
We want to slowly.
And I'm just thinking about from the business side of where you're forecasting to go.
Yeah.
So the idea is that at some point, they're really gonna be canned analytics that'll be available for people, but they're just gonna have to pay twice the price to buy into those.
Right.
And you're gonna identify basic analytics that apply across everybody.
Yeah.
That you're gonna get for your $500 a month, okay?
Yeah.
So there might be some labor-intensive work up front. Once you get it out there, though, it's shared with everybody that bought into
Yeah.
advanced, okay?
Yeah. So, yeah, one of the cool things that popped out is like, who's the local influencers, right? Somebody might only have 20 social network connections, but everybody trusts them on a policy issue. So if you vote, comment, and share, and then that person shared it and actually influenced 15 out of the 20, and then those people influence, like, that might be a big social influencer that was never really recognized before. There's some really cool, rich analytics available in these data sets that just really weren't out there before.
Sounds like stuff lobbyists might like to get their name on as well.
Yeah, potentially. So, but again, our privacy policy is, never to share the individual level data. And, that sounds like, and I know it's a two-way street, but even with Google, right? Like, the more you provide, if you do provide your gender, on Google, if you provide your location, then you get better results served up, your traffic. And so if you are doing that, then we know maybe you care about transportation or security in your area. And then we could help connect, analyses or policy polls better to individuals about what they care about. So it's a two-way street for sure, but we never share the individual.
My question actually builds off what you were saying about your privacy policies. It might be different, but are you considering other entities other than local governments, something like a large university or some other large organization with a huge number of stakeholders of whatever form that takes?
Yeah, anything that suffers from groupthink, anytime people share something, these are decisions about our roads and everything that we share. The current process is largely driven through whoever's the first to speak or whoever has the best rhetoric. And this is we call it a crowdsourcing tool. And we want to have people be able to provide their input, not just the loudest or the first speaker in the room. But yeah, so if a university is trying to make university-wide policy and wants to poll, then something in the future we could do is instead of, sorry, you guys are calendar. Nobody alerted me. Yeah, so if a university is, we could switch out instead of the voter file, they want to take a look at, make sure our students are responding. And are those students responding, is it all freshmen, sophomores, juniors? Absolutely, so we designed it to be flexible in those ways. Those are next steps that we want to take.
An added benefit to those types of organizations is when they're trying to get, I've talked to several institutions here in Dane County, and they'd like to get input from outside their email list. So they're currently using SurveyMonkey, and they know how to they know very well what their customers, their students, their participants think, but they don't know what the broader community thinks about them. And so they would like to be able to find a tool that not only gets their people, but also brings in a few more so that they can learn more about how they're viewed by people that perhaps don't interact with them, that they don't have their email.
And compared to SurveyMonkey, if a city sends out SurveyMonkey, like every time they're expecting to regrow their user base. So this is more like a Facebook feed. This is a one-stop shop place that you go to. And it would have like cross-session experience, each of the policy polls that you've seen before. It's a static location as compared to a SurveyMonkey tool. So we think of it as a next-gen SurveyMonkey built for government, built for any sort of group decision-making. Not to rip on them too much, because I guess they're Madison natives, SurveyMonkey, but that's what we hope to get to. Yep.
How much education is built into this? So if I come to vote, do you take on laying out what the issues at stake are, or is it purely vote yes or no, or this person or that? I mean, because I think that's a part about voter turnout is people don't know what they're voting for.
We love that piece. So two things. First thing is when the city loads up a policy poll, they can put all the background material that they want. They can link, committee reports, and they get prime real estate, right? To do that. But second is, when you comment, we keep track of the comment. You can only comment after you vote, and we keep track of the comments by if you voted yes or no. And you can only interact with the comments for the same side that you voted. So I can't go over and mudsling and call people names on the other side, or vote up dumb arguments and vote down the good ones. All I can do is, if I vote yes, vote up what I think is the strongest yes argument. So now, if somebody new to an issue has two ways. They can see the official committee reports, and then they can come down and see everybody who was for it, what they thought was the strongest for argument, everybody who was against it, what they thought was the strongest against argument, and hopefully make a more informed, it's good. Yeah.
Interesting.
So quick follow on that. Are you able to change your vote in case you accidentally click the wrong one?
Yeah, the honest answer is I don't remember right now. We had it both ways and we were switching, and I forget where we are right now if it locks in.
Because then it has to work on the comments and
right. Yep. And when we did make the switch, I forget we had to follow that thread through. But I forget where we are right now.
Okay.
Yep.
For the contracts that you set up, so you said it was $500 a month. So is that unlimited number of questions that the community can ask, or do you limit how many questions we hold each month?
We're always refining our business models as we get smarter and savvier. But we had started with that, but I think David was really wise in suggesting that cities and counties start at rough 10 a month. And the idea behind that is we don't want it to be a noisy experience. We don't want it to be a noisy experience for the government. That's why we do the verification and filtering. But we don't want it to be a noisy experience for the citizen either, right? If you go in there and all of a sudden there's 200, what's important to me? So with the 10, we help ensure that you're not getting bombarded with endless questions, and we can ensure that it's a defensible position from an elected official. So if there's a special interest group, ask my question, you can say, I've got limited questions to ask. I'm going to ask what's most important to the council.
Could you speak a little more about the barriers to participation? Just thinking about the disconnected and how, there are some neighborhoods that don't have high-speed broadband, and how you would gather those voices.
Yeah, it's so the site works really well on mobile. If you're not online on your computer, if you're online on your phone, come to the library. But we want to do whatever we can to help people get involved. So these are things that with the fundraising, as we can start to get broader up, make sure where they are underrepresented, and then what we can do. So if it is older or rural individuals, then we want to take those steps. But yeah,
We get asked that question a lot, and as a former elected and thinking about this a lot, we're not going to get to everybody. We can't, because not everybody's online. But right now, if you're not online, you have to walk into the city-county building to see the agendas, or you have to see it in the newspaper. And those folks aren't buying the $2 newspaper. I don't know, is it $2 now or $1? I can't remember. But $1.50, I was in between. So we can't get there. It's not going to be easy. However, and it gets back to one of the earlier questions. I like the reverse of what you learn as much as I like what you do learn. If a poll is 80-20 against something, the electeds want to know why people are opposed, and if they think it's a really important thing to do, they need to go and educate their folks. I used to represent the near west side. There were always zoning issues that people wanted me to reject out of hand because they didn't like it. But it was consistent with the zoning law. So I had to go out and talk to those folks and say, look, our issue here isn't with this petition. These folks are abiding by the rules that are there today. Our problem is with the rules, and we have to go and change that. I like that we'd be able to see that certain neighborhoods or districts in the city are not participating. That basically means that the alders there need to go out and say, this is available. And the polls are great for Twitter feeds, Facebook. Every government now has to have these things, but most of what they're posting is calendar items. Now, I'll give it credit to Madison because it's very important to know when your car can park on what side of the street and those kind of things. But a lot of it's just calendar. And if you put out the polls through your Facebook, those people that are following government are going to vote on them. And while they may be interested in homelessness on one issue, one time, they're going to vote on some of the other issues too. And so you'll start to get a broader perspective of your citizenry. But folks need to remember that if you're going to use this as a government, you have to also promote it and push it out there. Because if you think that writing a question, putting it on Polco is going to get people to go there, that's not going to work. So that's one of the things we do as part of outreach, is talk to the staff and say, look, you have a Twitter feed, you have a Facebook account, shoot this out there. Because then people are going to join and vote, and you'll get more people.
See, I think it's got to be daunting from the perspective of a city or county, right? I have a Twitter, I got a Facebook, maybe I got an Instagram or whatever, but I've got these social media feeds. If I post something, and I'm going to get tons of responses. I could never in a day keep up with all the responses. Same thing on Facebook, and I don't know who these people are. So it's just daunting to start these threads. But what Polco does is unifies those. So you can now say, hey, there's been a new issue. You can post on Twitter, there's been a new issue on this. If you want to have your voice, don't reply here on Twitter or don't reply here on Facebook. So you just broadcast out and say, these issues are up, head to Polco to have your voice. And then it simplifies and unifies from what previously was a really daunting experience. I don't even like to manage my own social media, never mind on behalf of cities with important controversial issues.
Is there a generational issue where, so the 65-year-old guy might be inclined to buy that $2 newspaper, but the 35-year-old, I don't remember the last time I bought a newspaper. If I'm going to do something like that, I'm going to go onto Twitter, I'm going to go onto Facebook, something like that. So is there a concern that that data might be skewed, that it's like, wonderful, we got 400 millennials to respond to this, we didn't get a single baby boomer because they're not as heavily on some of those platforms, or if they are, they don't know how to use some of these things.
Yeah, I mean, so first, millennials, that's the demographic. Nobody knows politically how they feel like. They're just not engaged. This is a way to definitely include them. Surprisingly, we thought that might have been the case. Bryan, Texas, one of our first cities that hosted a question, and we took a look at some of the demographics of the participants. It was all 60-year-old males sharing through Facebook. And it's how it went. So, but I mean, again, to your point, like, it's going to be a little skewed out of there. There's going to be some selection bias, but now we can measure and start to see and where people are going and help engage those underrepresented. So not going to be perfect out of the gate, but we can measure and improve this way.
I mean, I think that in terms of current bias of people who have the time to write letters and people who have the time to call it's retired people, I'm guessing, is a large number of people who, I mean, I'm just looking at my family anecdotally and thinking, people who have the time to do that. So this actually might balance in some ways. But I was listening to the full discussion, but I did sign on, open an account, and answer 6 polls.
Oh, awesome.
While we were having a conversation today. So it is super easy to use.
Cool. Thanks.
Do you know how many acres in Dane County there are?
I know.
Parks?
How many times have you been to the
12.
park?
Yeah. I mean, it was kind of built like, I love policy, from my Air Force experience, and I got to work a little bit in the White House, and I just know it's so important. And even at the local level, things happen really fast, and they're high dollar amounts, and they're important. But I got 2 young kids, and I can't make it to city council meetings. I mean, one of the hardest things is, like, if the city says, we want to use this, would you come present to city council? I'm always like, yeah, that's great, but oh shoot, I have to go to city council. Like, you're scheduled to talk third, and like, oh no, 1 and 2 might go an hour each, and so it's exciting. That's just the way it is. It's kind of built for personal use. I'm 35, so I would like to use it, but I also see my mom using it. So hopefully, Yep.
Who crafts the questions?
The city or the county.
The customer
The
crafts the
customer
questions
crafts,
because we don't want to be accused of bias.
Right.
And we have people that can help with crafting questions. So it's really up to them, and they put in it's very easy to put in the questions and the supporting materials. So we can't write the question.
Yeah.
We have some Polco questions out there. Of the 6 questions, probably you answered. 3 of them are probably Polco questions that are broad just to get questions up there. I mean, we struggle a little bit with, there's not enough frequency of questions because we don't have enough customers asking questions right away. But we also don't want to flood people with our questions. Like, I partially got involved in this because I wanted to ask questions in our community. I frankly think the city of Madison should ask about that brew pub that they're talking across, or outdoor beer garden across from Old Brick. Because while I'm sure there's the people that showed up at the liquor license hearing that were opposed were from the neighborhood, but I live on the bike path that goes straight there, and I know that a lot of people would like to bike over there in an afternoon and might have fun. Now, it's still, this only provides information to the alters. The alters still have to weigh what's the priority of the people in that neighborhood, in that district, versus the broader city. That will never change. This is not direct democracy. We're just providing information. But it might be that some people that are supportive of it in the neighborhood weren't going to go to that meeting because they didn't want to spend an hour or 2 there. Or, they might their neighbors may not like it, so if they showed up, they'd be in trouble. So this provides that anonymity to provide answers, and we can verify you against the voter roll so we know that you're a voter in that area.
I think one of the, David mentioned Paul's question, the Polco question. So we try to have a standardized set of some questions so the cities can ask with recurring frequency. And the city can learn from itself over time. Hey, we're doing really well on transportation or security, but we're actually going on a slight downtrend. And then I could look at another city who is maybe on a slight downtrend and they inflected. Well, what did they do? So now cities and counties can start to learn from each other over time. So that's why we have this kind of, some standardized questions in there. But yeah.
I just have a question. I know you said that it'll take some time to kind of build up the demographic information, but you are confirming that they are eligible voters in communities. So are you able to tell whether someone is a registered voter or just an eligible voter when you're giving that information back?
It's only registered voters. So the county will get answers. Let's say 100 people answer the poll. You'll get yes, no for 100. But then 60 of them are registered voters. You'll get both sets of data. So, for example, my son's 17. He's very active politically. He's very interested. But he's 17. He can vote on Polco all day long, and he'll be counted only once as a respondent. But when we take away to the verified voters, he's not on the voter list, so he wouldn't be counted there.
So that is one of the materials that is for sure confirmed before you go all of that.
Correct. That can be provided already. That's no problem. And to me, when I learned about Polco first, that's the piece I liked. Because there's often campaigns to respond to another city's issue where a national organization will come in and say, hey, let's all vote on this. And
like PETA with the circus.
Or with Monkey
They mobilize
Research.
their national
You
support
get thousands
group,
of
and
responses.
it inundates the city on the circus issue, and you're like, were any of these people actually in Madison?
Right. And so then if you strip away that, you would get to see, oh, these people are the ones that are from our jurisdiction. And to me, that's powerful. And then going into the neighborhoods, knowing by district how people feel, so that you can either go out and talk to folks about their opposition, because it needs to be done, or to learn about why they're upset about something. So if people really don't like something, you know, as an elected, I would want to go out and find out, well, why do you really dislike it? And actually, the comment section is going to tell you, because people are going to write in there, don't do this because of X, Y, or Z. And I just think it will help the debate and the discussion for an elected body to have this type of information. Again, it's still up to the electeds. We are not letting them off the hook. They have to make a choice on each of these issues. But here's some more information about how your citizens feel.
Data science is about taking big noisy data and producing and synthesizing it into a signal. And this is exactly what we're hoping to do. We have to collect the data, you know, we'll do the verification and other analytics, but we want to provide that synthesized signal for one of the oldest, most important industries in our economy. Cool.
I think we have time for one more question.
I know you have one.
What do you do about comments? Who is able to edit them if there's something libelous, obscene, you know?
I think our crowd moderating really helps, right? If there is something libelous and it's for it and I'm for it, I'm not going to upvote that. I don't want that to represent my position. So I think the crowd moderating takes care of a lot of that. Our site's built on Ruby on Rails. So there's some gems that you could, you know, install and hook up, and it says it has X words, and you could take those away. But then also, you know, it's ultimately, we license a platform to the city, county, or representative. And so if they say they want to take something out, then we could acknowledge that as the prerogative of the.
The other thing is, I think, as a solution, because that's not scalable, to have all governments calling Polco saying, take this guy's comment off, because we're going to have it.
Yeah.
And we already know, you know, we've had one customer who knows that they have somebody who comments on everything in a very offensive way. Eventually, we will allow the customers to put in a statement that says, this comment was deleted because, we'll have some, you know, they'll have some choices of why, bad language, some of the inflammatory, whatever. But those comments will still be there. So they won't be visible to everybody, but they will still be contained, because we are talking about governments. And so those comments need to stay.
Yeah, I think that crowd moderated, we've had lots of comments, and we have not had anything really incendiary, mudslinging, vitriolic. That way, it's a simple division, but it's given us a lot. So I mean, so many newspapers just get rid of their comment sections now because it's just pure noise. Yeah, so this is a replacement, you know, for within the newspaper section. But thank you guys so much for talking politics on a Wednesday morning and listening to what we're up to in town. And thank you too, as a community, for your support and whatever we can do to help you. And thanks so much for voting on it. So, thank you.